I woke up to the sound of sirens blaring. It was impossible to avoid the chaos of Humorous 7 in the early hours. My heart quickened as I glanced at the time display floating hazily above my bed. 3 hours. Just enough time to prepare for my shift at the reclamation center before the storm hit. I swung my legs off the edge of the bed, connecting with the cold metal floor, and took a deep breath to steel myself against another day of sifting through memories of a civilization that had refused to die. The sound of shouts echoed down the corridor outside. I hurriedly slipped on my jumpsuit, the fabric clinging to my skin like a second layer. There was no time for breakfast. Whatever I might have scavenged from the previous day's rations would have to wait. I stepped into the cramped hallway of our compact habitation pod, my pulse quickening at the urgency of the situation brewing outside. It wasn't the first time chaos loomed, but something in the air felt different today. My intuition buzzed like a malfunctioning holo screen, an unsettling disquiet that gnawed at my gut. Rushing toward the exit, I nearly collided with Kiera. We exchanged immediate, unspoken tension. Kiera and I had worked alongside each other for months, yet every shift felt like an emotional minefield, charged with unsaid words, explosive arguments about our mission, our purpose. She was the idealist, and I was the skeptic, the practical realist, and right now, I needed her unwavering courage. "Have you heard anything?" Kiera's freckled face was drawn tight, her eyes flickering towards the commotion outside. They said something about the Nexus again. I nodded, swallowing down the bitter taste of my own reluctance to discuss it. A warning of another wave, probably. You know how things go. "We'll handle it. What if we can't handle it this time? They're increasing new helixes releases every cycle," she shot back, frustration bubbling to the surface. "We've seen what happens to colonies that get caught in this disruption. We can't be next." I felt my hands clench into fists. "We're just observers, Kiera. Our job is to record, not to decide. When the Federation sent us here, we accepted it. 379, remember?" Kiera opened her mouth and then shut it again, her brow furrowing deeper. She had a point, of course. As researchers, we were meant to observe the remnants of a broken civilization, not interfere. In this case, our best defense was denial wrapped in duty. I stepped around her, not wanting to fuel another argument. 2 years on Humorous 7 taught me one crucial lesson. It was the memories of the past that were the true danger, not the specters of their history. I could scan the piles of data and history stored away in the reclamation center, but burying myself in ancient regrets wouldn't stop the Nexus from coming back. Outside, I could see the swirling storm clouds, roiling masses of dark energies that disrupted the fabric of reality itself. The Nexus was a cosmic phenomenon, an unstable state of existence created by the remnants of the lost civilization that refused to die. It dictated our lives here on the fringes of the Federated Territories, bending time and space in ways we barely understood, and no one had answers. The station's alarm screamed louder now, echoing through the setting. I stepped outside, feeling the weight of the world, the atmosphere buzzing with tension. The acrid scent of ozone filled the air, a reminder that another upheaval was imminent. We strained for a glimpse of the horizon where the storm loomed, a darkness paired with the growing chaos in our community. The wind slashed across my face as my mind swirled with worry about my younger brother, Ryan, who worked in the most hazardous sectors of the colony. Every time the Nexus hit, I found myself counting seconds, wondering if today would be the day I lost him to the rifts. Over the months, my desperate need to keep him safe had morphed into reckless decisions, weighing just as heavily as the missions we undertook into the field. "Kiera," I shouted over the wind, "we need to get to communications. They'll have more information." Together, we raced toward the gathering crowd in the market square. Split seconds felt like a lifetime as we navigated the throngs of people, their faces a mix of fear and determination. The town wasn't just a place. It was a microcosm of determination and illusion, filled with citizens who had once thrived before their memories became ghostly holograms, flickering amidst the static of time itself. I cast one more look upward where the storm brewed, my pulse sinking with the angry flickers of distant lightning. This was our cradle and our prison, our desire to understand the past keeping us in the very heart of danger. Would we continue to cling to ghosts of yesterday even as the storm bore down upon us? Or could we finally let go before the Nexus claimed another piece of this civilization? The buzzing atmosphere grew thicker in the market square, charged with uncertainty as the citizens of Ramora 7 fell into a disorganized clamor. I strained to make sense of what was happening. As Kiara and I pushed through, we spotted Aiden, our supervisor. Towering and impassive, he stood on a crate, a beacon amidst the chaos. "Listen up. We need to get the kids and the elderly to the bunkers. Stay calm and—" His deep voice resonated through the crowd, but the rising tension drowned out his words. "Incoming rift," someone shouted, and a wave of fear rippled through the crowd. Panic surged like a tidal wave, sweeping people toward exits, heading toward the bunkers beneath the market, many stumbling. "Form a line," Aiden bellowed, making a futile attempt to impose order. His face was set, determined, but I caught a glimpse of his anxiety behind the mask of control. His synthetic arm glinted under the artificial lights, a reminder of the sacrifices we'd all made in this relentless fight against the Nexus. Aiden had become more than just a supervisor. He was a friend and ally, struggling alongside us. "Kiara, get on the comms," I urged, knowing how important it was to keep communication flowing even amidst the chaos. "We need to get updates and prepare for traffic control. Everything hinges on getting everyone safely in place." Kiara nodded, her eyes dark with resolve as she dove into the crowd to reach the communication console. My heart raced as I watched her go. I hated how our job could slip into life or death scenarios in just moments. With urgency, I climbed onto the crate beside Aiden, the roiling clouds above the marketplace swirling ominously, like an angry eye. "We need to get the shields activated for the buildings. The last thing we need is to expose the perimeter to another rift." "We don't know how strong it's going to hit, Riley," Aiden replied, casting me a stern look. "If the shields are compromised, then we evacuate everyone underground. If we don't at least try," I trailed off, the implication creeping into my throat like bile. "I know." Aiden huffed, switching his focus to the crowd below. "I need you to get these people organized." As I jumped down into the thick of the gathering storm of bodies, adrenaline coursed through me, steering my instincts into overdrive. People were crying out in panic, kids huddled under tables, and the sharp sound of metal clashing filled the air as makeshift barricades were hastily erected. "Form a line," I echoed, my voice straining over the noise. "Stick with your families, we'll lead you to the bunkers." Little by little, the crowd began to respond. All my instincts screamed for order amid unfolding chaos. Moments felt dragged out, and yet in flashes I recognized faces, citizens I had come to see as family. Then I spotted Ryan near the entrance of the market, his wide eyes darting around in bewilderment. Relief coursed through me, and then dread gripped me like a vice. "Ryan," I shouted, weaving through the choking mass until I reached him. "What are you doing here? You're supposed to be on the other side of town, near the docks." "I was on my way to find you," Ryan yelled back, his voice strained under the tumult. "You weren't at the pod. Let's go." I grabbed him by the shoulder, feeling the softness of his shirt against my roughened hand. "We need to get to the bunkers. It's not safe here, and not without Leela," Ryan countered, ripping away from my grip. My heart sank as he turned to look behind him, desperately searching for a friend, his stubbornness not allowing him to grasp the enormity of our situation. I took a moment to assess the burst of energy coming from the other side of the market where Leela, a girl barely 10, a spark of joy in a world consumed by uncertainty, was perched atop a table, her curly hair shimmering. "Leela," I called out, but the wind stole my words. With Ryan following, I surged back into the throng, dodging frantic families and fervent sellers packed in corners. I reached Leela just as she was about to tumble off the table, but instead, she leaped into Ryan's arms, grinning. "I'm okay," she shouted, unfazed by the warning signs flaring across the marketplace. Ryan beamed back at her, adorning her with the kind of courageous gaze that bolstered my own faltering spirit. "Well, let's get to the bunkers, okay," I said, pulling them both along as I shoved through the scattering crowd. In that moment, though, the ground shook beneath us, a deep, mechanical groan trembling through the earth. It was a suturing reminder of the storm brewing, a rift on the cusp of recovery. Kiara must have reached the comm console. I imagined her fingers dancing across the controls, not knowing the extent of the chaos reigning outside. From overhead, a crack split the sky open, a fissure rending the very fabric of our reality. The blistering air whipped around us, blisters of red and gold erupting like firework shells, and in moments the world we had known shattered. Everyone fell to their knees, shielding themselves from the bursting brightness. I gritted my teeth. The panic rippling through the crowd swelled along with my resolve. I could feel Aiden's determination reignite in the very essence of the people. They would not falter. Into the bunkers, I screamed, my voice laced with command. Now, one by one, the citizens pushed towards safety. However, inside me, an unsettling question persisted. What lay beyond the boundaries of our known civilization? What revelations awaited in the Nexus, the very thing that birthed both chaos and possibility? As we delved deeper into the recesses of the underground, Kiara's voice echoed through my comm device, crackling in urgency. "With all personnel, we need active protocols. Unstable readings are off the chart. The Nexus seems to be creating higher frequencies, stronger than we've ever encountered." Every thread I had fought to weave together trembled in my mind. My brother, my friends, the ghostly remnants of the past civilization, all intertwined in an expanding web of fate. What if the Nexus held the key not just to survival, but to unlocking forgotten memories' capabilities beyond our comprehension? Something lurked at the edge of reality, something waiting to be unraveled. I couldn't place the pieces yet, but the threads of our lives intertwined with the shadows of the past, and something vast was ready to surface. Together, we would face whatever lay ahead, even if it meant threading the nexus between our past and our future. As we descended deeper into the unknown, the very essence of Ramora 7 throbbed around us, guiding us in the dark. That hungry, unmistakable pull. It was as if the storm itself had a face, watching us, and we were just fragments in its design, hoping to uncover the truth that lurked beyond. The metallic walls of the bunker vibrated with the pulse of the storm above, illuminating our path with an eerie phosphorescent hue. I clutched the fine layer of dust floating in the air, reminding me of the stories I'd recorded about a civilization once rich in culture, now reduced to echoes and shadows. The hum of machinery provided a grim comfort. It was no longer just an emergency shelter. It had become our lifeline against the fury of the Nexus. Riley. Aiden's voice resonated amidst the sterile atmosphere of the bunker. I turned my head towards the command hub where he stood, poring over reports flooding through a wall-mounted screen. A map of the external perimeter glowed before him. Red lines snaking across the surface indicated points where rifts had split open. "We have got multiple readings showing instability in the eastern sector. If they don't re-establish containment soon," his words trailed off as his expression hardened. "What's the worst-case scenario?" I inquired, anxiety flickering through me. "The investigation teams might not return, or worse, they could bring the rift back with them, uncontrolled." Aiden's gaze turned toward the younger members of our base, some barely hiding the tremors of uncertainty and fear. Ryan held Leela close, looking up at me with wide eyes, sensing the unease in the air. I felt the weight of my own limitations pressing down like gravity, drowning me in dread. "We need to stop this, Aiden. We have to figure out how to contain the Nexus before it spirals beyond our control." "But how?" Aiden took a deep breath, his synthetic arm moving automatically, pulling up data streams with precise calculations. "Our best chance is initiating a dampening protocol, but it requires a battery of energy sources similar to the ones used in the deep space cables. We'd have to venture into the heart of the storm." "Are you crazy?" Kiara interjected, striding into the command hub, her voice a fierce flame spearheading through our discussions. That's where the rifts are. She gestured towards the glowing map, and you want us to go into the eye of it. The risks are astronomical. I could see Aiden preparing a defense, but I intervened, recognizing the underpinning tension. Kiera, we can't wait for the Nexus to breach the bunker completely. What if we have a chance of closing it from within, while risking our lives for what? For a technology we barely understand. Her words were sharp, laced with an intensity that made the air feel electric. You don't know what it can unleash. We're still processing the anomalies we've witnessed. It's not just about us anymore, I declared, feeling the desperation claw at my throat. Oh, what if the storm is trying to give us something? What if it's beckoning us to reveal the truth behind the civilization that built this place? A flicker of hesitance passed over Kiera's face before she crossed her arms defiantly, locking eyes with Ryan and Leela. The semblance of our gathered allies pressed in. Their silent hope anchored us, yet uncertainty loomed larger than life. Fine, Kiera snapped. But if we do this, everyone needs to be on board. We present a united front, because if we shatter out there, she let her words hang in the charged air, an unspoken question resounding within us all. Not fractured by dissent, I agreed firmly, drawing Ryan and Leela closer. We can't afford to falter. We've all seen the horrors that the Nexus can unveil. We need answers, and we will face whatever comes together. Aiden nodded gravely, and Kiera let out a resigned breath. All right then, she replied, relenting. But what's our plan of action? First, we have to gather energy cores from the supply tunnels. I'll lead a team. Aiden, Kiera, you'll back the perimeter while I navigate toward the eastern sector. Do you really think it's safe to split into teams? Aiden frowned, analyzing our proposition. The less fog of war, the better, I assured him. We have to move quickly. The storm isn't waiting. As the dim lights flickered above us, we prepped our supplies, hovering packs filled with emergency rations and energy transceivers. The somber motivation driving us toward the unknown thickened as we confronted the chaos in our minds. And yet, beneath it all, a curious element sparked. What if we could unlock the truths we pursued? The crackle of the comms unit illuminated a tense expression among our team. Voices filtered in from the various levels of the bunker. Layers of discontent brewed around us that echoed in the hushed whispers. Stay together, maintain vigilance. I spoke into the comm unit, rallying my teammates. Remember, we aren't just protecting ourselves. We carry the essence of Remora 7's story. We need to believe in the ability to reshape our destiny. As we stepped into the pulse of the bunker, a heavy silence draped about us. The journey ahead veered through chaos. Doubts intermingled with determination. We moved through the narrow passageways toward the exit, and each step resonated like an adrenaline-charged heartbeat. The moment we breached the entrance, the air thickened with swell. A tight knot of wind and incoming pressure collided through crevices of reality itself. I tightened the straps across my shoulders while Kiera grabbed Ryan's hand, determination spiraling through her eyes. Here it goes, I muttered as we stepped into the fray, the path obscured by the swirling dust and electric rumbles. The streets of Remora 7 panted under pressure, an entire civilization under siege, and though the storm bore the visage of chaos, I could hear echoes of memories whispering around us, hinting the past was closer, dangerously so, than we had ever imagined. We made our way through the market strands abandoned in the swell of terror. Leela clung to Ryan, her wide eyes flicking toward bursts of radiance illuminating our surroundings in bursts. "Isn't this kind of cool?" she said, her excitement a sharp contrast to the chaos. Cool," Ryan replied incredulously. "You call this cool? What if it leads us to something great? What if it's a momentous portal?" She danced on the balls of her feet, defiance etched on her face, a small light in the monochrome storm. I glanced at Kiera. She cast me an amused smile of reluctant understanding. "That's just Leela, we'd all been like that once, perhaps." The eastern sector loomed closer, and with it, a pulse of energy as I felt the nexus thrumming beneath us. A visceral heartbeat beneath the arcane surface. "Keep your mind sharp, stay alert. Something feels off," I whispered, inching forward. Each step unraveled strands of the unknown, every flicker lighting a world that was deep, rooted yet sheltered in darkness. The walls around us rippled with memories almost too loud to contain. O'Reilly, Kiera's fierce voice sliced through the roaring winds, drawing my attention. "Look." I turned, and before us, an apparition shimmered like oil swirling across the surface of ancient water. A translucent doorway portal, like a connection to the unseen. It flickered and rumbled, reaching out through the storm. Could that be a remnant of the civilization? Kiera mused, a hint of excitement suffusing her voice. Or a trap? I countered instinctively, deciphering the beating heart of uncertainty. We don't know what's been unleashed. The Nexus whirled around us, teasing curiosity, molding our fates into something we couldn't yet grasp. With one shared look amongst us, an unspoken pact imbued our mission further, a binding tether uniting our purpose. Who wants to go first? Kiera laughed darkly, stepping forward into the unknown. "I will," Leela braved, her small frame unwavering, stepping toward the swirling light. "Leela, wait," Ryan exclaimed, but suddenly, a force yanked her into the doorway. An insatiable lift into what lay beyond. "No," I shouted. The moment spiraled, time froze, an illusory world opened where reality and suspicion fused into something beautiful yet terrifying. The Nexus roared around us, fierce energy flowing forth, tilting the world on its axis. Chaos transformed into magnetic energy, a strand of destiny woven together, refusing to fade into the void. In the face of the unknown, our hearts pulsed. Everything we had fought for, all those we sought to protect, straddled the precipice of truth. "O'Reilly," Kiera's arms clutched around me, steadying me as the world shifted in a maelstrom. "We follow. It's now or never." The words slipped away as shimmering light flickered around us, pushing me into the rift, into whatever awaited beyond. And, as we stepped through the boundary of the known, the very essence of what it meant to live within the chaos would soon unravel before our eyes, revealing deeper connections and truths that lay hidden within the intricate fabric of the Nexus. Through the storm, we'd forge a new path, one riddled with danger, but we held the key to our fate. Together, we would dive into the depths of our past and its unbreakable links, willing to rewrite our futures, one thread at a time. The Nexus was awakening, so were we. The world snapped back into focus with a blinding intensity, as if the storm had birthed us anew. The air was thick with humid warmth, but it was different, nourishing, almost alive. I blinked against the brightness, confusion swirling in my mind as the raw energy of the Nexus enveloped us like mist. It was chaotic yet eerily serene, rippling textures that stretched and swirled in colors I had no name for. Bathed the horizon in shades of glowing gold and deep azure. I turned and found Kiera, Ryan, and Leela standing there, eyes wide with awe. Together, we had crossed into the heart of the storm, into the very essence of what had once been, and perhaps still could be. But the moment was fleeting. "Where are we?" Ryan murmured, his voice echoing softly against the strange canvas that surrounded us. As soon as he spoke, the atmosphere shimmered like rippling water, responding to our every word. I think we're in the heart of the Nexus," I replied, allowing the weight of those words to settle over us like heavy snowfall. It was a hypothesis veined with possibility, twisting reality each time I traced my thoughts along its edges. "What do you mean? We just jumped into chaos," Kiera challenged, her skepticism mounting as she surveyed our surreal surroundings, crystalline formations rising against an indigo sky. "No," Leela interjected, her voice clearer, embodying a childlike wonder that cut through the tension. "This feels like a place where memories live, like stories waiting to be told." Intrigued, I stepped forward, curiosity pulling at the core of my being. Shadows danced under the vibrant colors. A flicker here, a whisper there. Perhaps Leela's words weren't wrong. Perhaps this wasn't merely chaos. It was a reservoir of untold histories, buried deeper than we imagined. "Let's explore," I offered, hoping to steer us towards answers. I could feel the pulsing energy beckoning us further in, exhilarating yet daunting. Around us, the very fabric of stories morphed and curled, intertwined with sentiment, revealing splintered fragments of lives once lived. As we moved deeper into the mesmerizing landscape, I caught faint echoes rising from the terrain, a kaleidoscope of voices intertwined in a rhythmic harmony. Fabric of light stretched, revealing silhouettes of figures, reliving moments of laughter, love, loss, and legacy that emanated all around us. Kiara held my arm tightly, her breath hitching. Riley, this isn't just an echo. These are memories. We're stepping into someone else's past. Or perhaps our own, I countered, my own thoughts racing along the spiraled labyrinth. A pulse ran through the air, a cadence of emotion refracted against the pure essence of the nexus. Suddenly, the vision stabilized into clearer scenes. I found myself watching as if I were peering through a window, a bustling colony, vibrant markets, children laughing, families united in celebration. This was Remora 7 before the fractures, reminders of a time we had long since lost. I could feel the tight knot of longing in my chest, a brightness forgotten. The world around me felt more alive than anything I had ever experienced. Do you see that? It's like the memories are reaching out, Ryan whispered in awe, and I could see his eyes reflect the luminescence of the past. No longer spectators, we felt compelled. I stepped closer and touched the shimmering veil of light, and it rippled beneath my fingers, creating waves of energy that resonated through my entire being. Suddenly, it exploded forth. A cascade of vibrant scenes rushed past, carrying me along. Each moment was a fragment of history. Twisted into non-existent time, a rustic gathering in the fields, the construction of the great towers, and whispers of the storm that would rise to challenge everything they had come to cherish. Yet amid the beauty, despair lingered, a shadow foreshadowing the rise of the Nexus and the collective sorrow following. Riley, come this way. Kiara's voice reached out, her urgency surging through the spectral lighting. I turned to her, and together we navigated through floating memories as they flashed frantic scenes of families emerging from shelters, the chaotic rush as they sought escape from the storm. It's like they're trapped, Kiara observed, and each whispered word echoed through the cosmos. What if this is what happened to them? What if they never left? An unease settled over me. Shadows of moments hung thick with regret, moments decaying into an undercurrent of loss. I realized then that these weren't just random recollections, they were invitations. The Nexus longed for us to understand its core, to not just observe, but to empathize. I think we're witnessing their plight, revealing the true nature of the storm. I breathed, understanding crashing into me like waves. The visions blurred yet transformed again, into images of artists sketching the beauty of their world, leaders navigating diplomacy, and inventors fueled by hope. But then they shifted to darker scenes, fear, shattered foundations, chaos unspooling the threads of their reality that would reverberate through time. With each heartbeat, pieces fell into place, connecting us deeper to what had transpired and how we had arrived at this moment. The Nexus was feeding off their memories, transforming and preserving them, but it seemed to yearn for recognition, acceptance. Then something shifted. Beneath the glowing canopy, a figure crystallized toward the edge, an outline that felt both foreign and strangely familiar. I squinted into the light, straining to discern the contours of a being that sparkled like the core of the cosmos. It approached, and with each stride, time warped, reality bending back toward the shadows of the past. When the silhouette stepped into focus, I gasped. It was a mirror of me, though clothes woven from the strands of living light draped the figure, an embodiment of aspirations, dreams, and the resilience of the civilization. Welcome, travelers, the figure spoke, its voice a symphony that resonated within me. You stand at the precipice of understanding, at the crossroads of past and present. You've ventured to uncover the arcs of your experiences, the bearings of your visions. My heart raced with questions. What are you? I breathed, trembling at the vastness of its presence. I am the keeper of echoes, the being answered, the interconnected stream of all memories that have passed through this nexus. You bear witness to an existence shaped by hope and despair. Why are we here? What do you want from us? Kiara asked, voice steady despite the awe that radiated through her. To unveil your truths. For generations, your kind has sought to bury paternal memories under the weight of fear. The storm you face now stretches beyond physical limitations. It is the embodiment of grief, created by the convergence of unresolved history. The Keeper explained, its form mesmerizing yet overwhelming. Ryan stepped forward, confusion etched on his youthful face. And how do we fix it? We can't keep living in the shadows, repeating their mistakes. Release the fears of your past. Embrace the remembrance of their stories. Acknowledge it, feel it, the Keeper urged, and with each word an energy enveloped us, linking us as the air shimmered with possibilities. The Nexus will reflect the truths of your kind to those who dared to traverse the thresholds of memory. It thrives on your courage, on your willingness to face it. With those words, the world around us rippled, shifting all at once like a tide. The memories began to swirl faster, encompassing us in a cacophony of emotional landscapes, the joy, pain, love, loss they threatened to sweep us away. But together we held on. Riley, are we ready? Kiara looked at me, lips drawn tight, fear and resolve layered into her gaze. Before I could answer, Leela's voice rang clear, disrupting the tempest. No one gets left behind. We'll remember them all the stories. Yes, I breathed, as the turbulence surged around us. We'll face this together, for Ramora 7, for everyone we love. As the swirling mass thickened, we formed a circle. I gripped Ryan and Kiara's hands, feeling Leela's small warmth anchored amongst us. The memories coalesced into a unified song about defiance, a testament to the cycle of existence that begged to be heard. What do we do? Kiara urged, the sound of her heartbeat echoing like tambourines against the unfolding waves of energy. Let it in, I said firmly. Let it crash over us. We'll endure it. Together, we opened ourselves, surrendering to the memories whirling around us, allowing the sorrow and elation to wash over us. Every fragment collapsing together into hope and resolution. Fueled by the Keeper's essence, the vortex intensified, a maelstrom of life oscillating, drawing strength from our connected beings. The brilliance swelled, illuminating our deepest fears wrapped in love, the very genesis of why all things existed. In that moment, we remembered the cycles of pain were driven by the desire for connection, the innate need for recognition from a civilization once thriving against the backdrop of chaos. As we continued to embrace their collective stories, I felt it. The Nexus began to transform, its presence becoming a chorus of voices that harmonized with clarity, inviting understanding rather than fear. Suddenly, from the heart of the storm, a pulse shot out, a crystal wave that reverberated against the fabric of realities. Was it our acceptance? It surged through us, bursting forward until it encased the entirety of the storm itself, cleansing its layered despair. The visions began to fade. Echoes drifted into the night as the rippling brightness shifted. You will go forth, the Keeper intoned, its form blurring at the edges, and the essence of memory will carry you. Each of you has traded a heartbeat against the void. Learn, grow wiser, and share the stories that define you. Do not be confined by fear. And then it was gone. As suddenly as it had arrived, the Nexus blurred, imploding into the very air we stood on as the world around us began to revert to the stillness of eternal skies. Riley, Kiara yelled as the air shifted, transforming into lucid landscapes, slowly swallowing segments of the storm. The clouds parted, pooling with vibrant colors as a new dawn emerged. An invitation to the unbound realm of living memories. Ryan beamed, glancing towards the horizon. Look. We made it out. A gentle sigh escaped my lips, realization washing over me that we could change the course of our stories. Ramora 7 had opened its heart, and with it came the immense power to rebuild. By remembering, we could create anew. The Keeper's words echoed within me, a lighthouse guiding us back, reminding me of possibilities waiting in the chapter yet unwritten. Together, I murmured, locking eyes with my companions. Hearts aligned in this shared journey. We start from here, Kiara affirmed with a newfound zeal, and as I inhaled the refreshing air that kissed my skin, I knew that this chapter wouldn't just reflect the past. It would forge ahead into a better tomorrow. In that moment, standing with Kiara, Ryan, and Leela underneath the grand canvas of starlit skies, I felt an unshakable bond, a commitment to the adventure that lay ahead. And as we stepped forward into the dawn of a new era, echoes of Ramora 7 intertwined with our fates, unraveling the story we were destined to write. With a shared breath, we crossed the threshold of possibilities and ventured back into our world, ready to reshape the narrative threaded through the tapestry of time, a legacy built on memory, rekindled hope, and the courage to hold each other's stories dear. We stood on the edge of a new dawn, the remnants of the Nexus behind us and the entirety of Ramora 7 at our feet. A world ripe for transformation. The landscape was a poignant collage of memories and hope. An evolution from a place once enveloped in chaos to one beckoning us to weave our truths within the fabric of its future. Where to now? Ryan asked, his youthful exuberance alight against the shadows that had threatened to consume us just moments before. Leela looked up at him, her wide eyes shimmering with anticipation. First, we need to regroup, I replied, glancing at Kiara and then at Aiden, who had joined us just as we emerged. He surveyed the landscape, scanning the horizon that had once buzzed with a dangerous rhythm, but now felt like a blank canvas waiting for our brushstrokes. We can't lose any more time. The Nexus still poses a threat, and we need to prepare for any disturbances it may cause. But now we can approach it from a place of understanding. Kiara nodded, her gaze resolute. We need to share what we learned. The Keeper's message about memory and connection could reshape our approach. We can inform the rest of the team and the entire colony of what we've discovered. We quickly made our way back through the remains of the market place, the chatter of families and traders now quieter, as if the echoes of the past had stirred a more somber respect for the strength they had just witnessed. I could see shadows of what would come next, a universal truth blossoming in the awareness of the people awakened to the scars of their collective history. Each face I caught in the light told a story waiting to be retold. As we arrived at the reclamation center, the familiar sterile scent of metals and artificial energy wrapped around us. My heart quickened. This was the ground zero for our new mission. I felt the weight of responsibility settle heavily across my shoulders. I hadn't only returned from the depths of the Nexus with knowledge. I returned with a mission to kindle the spark of change. The moment we walked inside, our small team was met with an eruption of questions from other researchers and volunteers. Their eyes burned with curiosity and concern. As we stood together at the center with the data displays illuminating the surrounding walls, Aiden's voice rallied everyone into focus. "Listen up, we've just returned from the Nexus," he began, his voice infused with urgency. "It's no longer an abstract phenomenon to be feared. We've gained insight, a collective history trapped within time itself, and we need to learn from it." "Learn how?" a researcher shouted from the back of the room, and I felt the tension mounting again. The Keeper, this being of the Nexus, helped us to understand that all of this, I said, gesturing to the vibrant projections of our surroundings that displayed the chaotic dances of memories we had witnessed, is part of us. Every joyous moment, every sorrowful loss, they are linked and pivotal to shaping our identities. If we use this lens to view our challenges going forward, we can alter the course of our community's future from fear-based reactions to a story of resilience. What does that mean for the Nexus?" Kiara implored, standing with authority beside me. "Can we pacify it? Will it become an asset rather than just a threat?" I took a deep breath. We will need to explore our relationship with the Nexus. We've encountered its core, felt its memories, the emotions wrapped around each ripple of energy. The path forward begins with understanding together, not just as researchers, but also as a community respectfully sharing these stories. The room was silent for a heartbeat, and I could feel my heart race as anticipation hung heavy in the air. Slowly, an understanding dawned upon the group as they exchanged looks, realizing the potential for collaborative healing. we may need to venture back, Aiden said finally. And not just to the storm, but into the more personal memories connected to the Nexus. The stories we've all buried since arriving here. Yes, Ryan called out, raising his hand. This is our opportunity to gather new energy cores while unlocking our people's stories. None of us could abandon our pasts after this revelation. There's strength in all of this. We could help others break free from those burdens. Encouraged by Ryan's passion, the momentum shifted within the room, ideas crackling and igniting in ways I had not anticipated. Volunteers stepped forward hesitantly at first, then with growing enthusiasm, eager to contribute their experiences to our mission. Let's form teams, I suggested, seeing how the air buzzed with excitement. We'll have groups dedicated to collecting data, revisiting their unique connections to the Nexus while helping others open themselves to their histories. Healing that can ripple into the community will empower us all. As planning commenced, I felt every moment bringing us closer together, forming bonds not just through united purpose, but from the stories that framed who we were. Leela dashed around, sharing maxims she had picked up from our journey, each imbued with childlike wisdom that illuminated the darkest corners of doubt. Through it, we began to craft a multidimensional approach to confront the challenges of the Nexus. But even as the room filled with newfound energy and a wave of rejuvenation swept through our gathered team, unease whispered beneath the surface. I glanced at Kiera, who was jotting down notes, her brow furrowed with contemplation. "Hey," I said, leaning closer. "Are you all right? It feels almost too easy," she admitted quietly, glancing around as if searching for something that eluded her. "But what if the Nexus knows we are trying to reconnect? What if it doesn't rest easy with this understanding and pushes back?" I paused, considering her thoughts intensely. "You could be right. It will take vigilance too. We must be prepared for anything." As the planning proceeded, I sensed Kiera's hesitance, and it mirrored my own uncertainty about what awaited us. We had peered into the heart of the storm and sought wisdom in its depths, but the temptation of familiarity without confrontation gave me pause. With the sun setting, casting ethereal light across the dome of the Reclamation Center, we solidified our mission structure. Teams broke off, some heading to gather stories, others toward the energy core excavations, and still others to strategize ways to unsnap the historical ties that held us captive. "Let's remember," Aiden shouted, initiating one last rally before we dispersed. "This work requires us to support one another. Where we go as individuals connects to where we go as a community. Together, we share our memories, our grief, and our beauty. We've survived this long, and we will foster understanding, and with that, we emerged ready for whatever lay ahead." A small island of light against the vast cosmic tapestry waited beyond. Hope swelled within us. Whatever we faced in the coming days, we'd do it as a unified force, a collective wave of remembering souls stitching reality deftly around us. Weeks passed, and I had witnessed firsthand the blossoming of connection among the people of Remora 7. Teams came back from their explorations filled with captured memories of laughter, shared histories, and heart-rending stories. They recorded emotional narratives that rippled through our community, instilling resilience against the pain of the before times. Even those who had once lost their threads found the encouragement to unspool their untold tales. We held workshops, creating narratives of not just survival but of rebirth. Yet, amidst these steady pulses of healing, underlying tensions still shimmered like static electricity. Unseen but felt within each of us, the Nexus had begun responding to our growing momentum. Strange disturbances rippled through the outskirts of the colony, whispers of storms gathered, flickering at the edges of our communal airwaves. The energy fluctuations increased and like distortions formed in sporadic areas. The threat loomed again. Kiera and I convened daily in the Reclamation Center, poring over reports while deciphering the latest readings from the Nexus. Patterns encircled each motion like threads pulling ominously close. "Kiera, we need to address this," I stated, my pulse quickening. "If we don't acknowledge the fear that stirs beneath, It will shatter everything we've built. We need a plan to ensure we are united in facing the Nexus again. Agreed. What if? She paused, biting her lip in thought. Then her voice grew stronger. But what if we combine the stories we've collected to create a shared experience? What if we all face the Nexus together as a symbol of our connection? We could structure one large gathering, sharing these memories in a climactic moment. It was a bold idea. But if the Nexus responds negatively, we could expose everyone to its wrath. We could be repeating history's mistakes. I know, she answered, grounding me. But running away hasn't worked before. We've witnessed how collective acknowledgement empowers us. How those bonds forge a path for connection. But the gathering, she suggested, reverberated throughout the reclamation center until it took on a life of its own. Layers of enthusiasm collided with traces of trepidation, blending until we had established a monumental festival commemorating our past while affirming our unity for the future. As the day approached, every individual knotted together shared moments of fear along with echoes of hope, preparing for a turn back toward the Nexus with acceptance in their hearts. The idea thrilled me, grounding my resolve while still igniting an undercurrent of uncertainty. I hoped it would bring us what we needed, the conduit to weave understanding into the chaos lurking at the edges. On the appointed day, vibrant colors spilled across the market square, blossoming in celebration. Each tent represented a different memory, a story, as shadows melded with light, blurring the lines and demonstrating the heartbeats and trials of our community. The energy radiating around us was a tapestry of all we had unearthed, and a vow to heal through interconnected remembrance. As the sun set and we gathered, I stood in front of community lines, families, friends, souls all intertwined and ready to honor their pasts. It was then, standing shoulder to shoulder with Kiara, Ryan, and Leela, that I felt the familiar rumble of the air as a familiar phrase escaped my lips. Welcome to our gathering, fellow travelers. Together we unite. Silence washed over the crowd, energy magnetic and raw, crackling with anticipation. We stood as one before the encroaching depths of the Nexus, each person holding a piece of their fragmented story, the communal courage entwined into one solid front. Together, we will forge a path toward understanding, I shouted, mirroring hope. To the true power of connection and acceptance. Just as the final word slipped off my tongue, I sensed it. The Nexus shivering on the edges, fluttering back to unmoored awareness. We were a collective entity resonating with the threads of our purpose, an echo vibrating directly toward the storm as a response of our own unity. In that instant, the air should have felt calm, yet it thrummed with tension as a crescendo rose from within. Together, fear melted into courage, our stories twirling in unison as dawn promised a new awakening. And somewhere in that energy, within every palpable shift, we could feel the echoes of the past, entwined within us, testifying to a future we were resolute to shape. In the face of uncertainty, we were joined by the very essence of what could lie ahead. A reclamation of our legacy, a weaving of lived experiences, and the resilient heart of Remora 7, beating as one. It was more than a festival, it was the beginning of our shared journey, a dance on the edge of destiny. With unity replaced apprehension, we stood ready to face what unfurled beyond the storm, trusting in the powerful, interconnected chorus that surged within us all. As the Nexus swirled across the horizon, a force awakened, ready to challenge our fears and unveil the next chapter in our collective narrative, urging us forward. Gathered under the expansive canopy of stars, the community of Remora 7 pulsated with a dynamic energy, a blend of apprehension and hope that simmered in the cool evening air. The marketplace transformed into a testament of unity, illuminated by vibrant banners recounting tales of courage and heartache, each thread representing the collective spirit of those who called this sprawling outpost their home. Children darted between booths, laughter echoing like a melody, threading through the tapestry of memories woven in shared stories, while families huddled close, providing warmth as dusk descended. I stepped up to the communal platform at the center of the celebration, glancing toward Kiara. Her gaze was resolute. I could sense her encouragement. This was not merely a performance for others. It was a validation of what we'd fought to understand, what we were prepared to confront one last time. Ryan and Leela stood alongside us, their youthful optimism radiating as they exchanged excited whispers, contemplating the festival's significance. It was a cusp of change, an acknowledgement that we could shape the potential that lingered within the shadows cast by the Nexus. "A welcome, fellow travelers of Ramora 7, I called, my voice cutting through the reverberations of the crowd, compelling silence as curious eyes turned toward me. Tonight, we gather not just to commemorate the past, but to reclaim our future. A future shaped by our memories, our stories, and our unity." The atmosphere thickened with emotion, carried on the electric hum of anticipation as I continued. The Nexus has haunted our steps for too long, a storm that bears the weight of our untold tales. Yet tonight, we reclaim its essence with the power of our collective spirit. Applause erupted, echoed by shouts of encouragement and resolve. From every corner, the energy stacked upon itself, each cheer laced with threads of resilience. As I took a deep breath, I could feel Kiara shifting slightly beside me, readying herself to speak. "We are not here simply to suppress our fears," she added, stepping forward, her earnestness piercing through the flickering lights. "We are here to embrace the very core of what makes us human. Our connections, our truths, and our histories. By sharing these stories, we transform the Nexus from a force of despair into one of hope. Let us illuminate the darkness together." With those words, she took my hand, and the intimate gesture rippled through the crowd, igniting their own memories of shared warmth and vulnerability. "Tonight, we will share our stories," I declared, gesturing toward the array of booths that lined the square. Each had become a portal, a chance for individuals and families to reflect on experiences, offering up artifacts, old heirlooms, drawings, recordings that held tales waiting to be told. Find a story that speaks to you, listen. Reinvigorate the thread that connects us all, even if it's born from laughter or grief. Ryan and Leela bounded toward a nearby booth where an elderly woman was unraveling an intricate tapestry of memories illustrated with threads of gold and blue. My heart thrummed in solidarity as the other children gathered around wider displays, captivated by stories illuminating our past. In the distance, community members were beginning to share stories aloud, voices rising in a rhythmic crescendo. Warm gatherings of people leaned closer, eager to engage, shivering with shared experiences that had forged allegiances amidst chaos. Leela's laughter pealed like a bell, the inflection of youth carrying forth the courage she exuded, illuminating even the somber moments woven into our collective saga. O'Reilly, Aiden's voice broke through the ambience of storytelling, beckoning me. I turned to find him standing under the canvas of the festival together with Kiara, a worried frown on his face. "We need to talk about the Nexus. It isn't responding positively. Energy readings are fluctuating dangerously." Fluctuating? What do you mean?" I pressed, dread coiling in my gut. "I can't explain it exactly, but something's changing. I fear that our gathering, while empowering, may also agitate the storm, especially if unresolved memories begin to surface." Kiara's brow furrowed, concern etching her features. "Then, we need a plan. We can't risk unleashing a force we cannot contain." "Where is Ryan?" I asked suddenly, scanning the crowd, searching for his familiar head of tousled hair. He could be close to the Nexus's edge. Aiden's face paled. I saw them wandering toward the old memorial area near the market's edge. They were fascinated by the dust storm, but the ground does shift near those borders, and if the rift opens, I shot off toward that direction, the urgency of my shift propelling me forward as threads of fear unraveled behind me. The memorial area lay nestled between weathered sculptures that had long since crumbled into the earth, now reclaimed by the storm. I raced ahead, dodging the crowd as worry gnawed at me. As I emerged onto the fringes, the atmosphere changed, the air thickened, tinged with static energy that hung heavy in the air. "Ryan, Leela," I called, my voice rising in urgency but echoed by the howling winds. Turning a corner, I spotted them huddled close, eyes wide with wonder as they stared into a fissure that had begun to arc above the memorial. A shimmering light that punched into the belly of the world. "What have you two gotten into?" I panted, gathering them into my arms. "It's so beautiful," Leela exclaimed, undeterred by my panic. The nexus flickered in the distance, revealing visions entwined with forgotten histories, a glimmering thread that cascaded restlessly about. Lights dancing with reminders of all we once were. "This isn't a game," I snapped, forcing my anxiety to balance on the precipice of hope, yet unable to ignore the threat the energy posed as it crackled, waiting, seeking. Just as the rift began to widen, pulsating menacingly, I heard a rumbling from behind, a raw tremor, and Kiara and Aiden stormed in, both faces stricken with urgency. "Get back!" Aiden shouted, determination blazing within his gaze. "The storm is letting loose." In a blink, the whole atmosphere shattered, from distant whispers to violent thrumming. The ensuing chaos swelled around us, shaking the ground beneath our feet. If we didn't contain the rift, it could explode, unleashing the tangled memories that had once haunted us all. "You remember?" Kiara screamed as she and Aiden struggled to anchor the energies growing heavier and darker, swirling like a tempest above our heads. "We cannot remember without acknowledging, and we cannot acknowledge without sharing. Together, stand strong." I cried out, lifting my voice above the chaos, calling to the intertwining threads. "We have faced the storm once, and we can do it again. We reclaim our narratives." I held my hands out, nodding at Ryan and Leela, who grasped my arms, standing resolute by my side. "It's our stories that unite us. Let them provide strength." The very air trembled. The nexus rumbled as spectral visions flooded forth glimpses of the past, tangled with raw emotion, unleashing snapshots that encapsulated fear, pain, and hope. But I stood rooted amidst the tumult, trusting in the light we could create, a light that would repurpose shadows to fortify us against the unfolding storm. "Share your stories, everyone," Kiara urged, calling into the chaos, her voice slicing through the swirling energy like a blade. "Embrace the memories, transition them into a shared shield." One by one, faces in the crowd began to respond. They stepped forward, echoing feelings honed through each experience in unison, forming a spiral of shared resilience. A chorus that built momentum as tales cascaded into remembrance. Together, Aiden called out, rallying voices that resonated with elevated energy, transmitting warmth through the storm. "Together we stand." Ryan, filling with newfound bravery, began to recount his own truth, a moment encapsulated with excitement and joy. I remember the stories of us fighting against fear, how stories brought us together, and they are part of me, part of the Nexus too. Encouraged, people stepped forward, memories intertwining as individual recollections formed a vibrant ribbon, stitching the fabric of our community anew. There it was, woven into shadows, a pattern embracing the past while channeling hope into the fabric of the storm. As we raised our voices together, the core energy of the storm responded in kind, flickering brightly. The color transformed, shifting into a tapestry of brilliant hues. A kaleidoscope of freedom and collective memory that rippled throughout the world around us. I felt weightless amidst it all. Fear melted away, every thread binding us through shared purpose and connection shimmering like silk beneath the storm. The rift pulsed, a living entity responding to our resolve, a final surge ready to enlighten instead of devour. "And now," Kiara shouted, her voice steady against the roiling winds. "Now is our moment." And as we positioned ourselves, hands extended outward toward the dazzling fissure. Together we unleashed our voice, a boundless swell of unity. Our collective energy, shaped by stories no longer suppressed but embraced, converged, illuminating the storm with vulnerability and strength. With a final resplendent moment, the Nexus erupted with shimmering waves, cascading over us and binding the past with our future, a harmony resonating throughout the fabric of existence. As the quiet finally settled, a calm woven through the swirling colors of the Nexus, the air stirred with renewed hope. We stood, hearts entwined, shoulders back, and hands gripping the memories we could now hold. In the aftermath, the one, sominous energy transformed into elusive dust, releasing the echoes of the past while embracing potential futures yet unknown. Together, we had transformed the storm. Through collecting every voice into a final unison, we redefined the nexus. As we breathed in the essence of a new morning, the peace surrounding us melted into an exquisite backdrop. Humorous 7 stood at the cusp of an awakening, a world woven together by love and compassion, compelling us toward the paths that lay ahead. "Go forward," I declared, glancing around at the faces radiant with renewed purpose. "Let us reshape our legacy, a living story telling itself anew." And side by side, we marched forward, ready to redefine what it meant to stand united under a galaxy of stars. In the spirit of connection, the recollections of yesterday recited side by side with dreams of tomorrow. Through our memories, together we stepped forth into a brilliant world, ready to embrace every glorious moment yet to come. As the dawn broke over Humorous 7, soft tendrils of light filtered through the remnants of the Nexus' chaotic storm. The air crackled with tension, an electric hum signifying that something monumental had shifted in the very fabric of our reality. The echoes of yesterday still reverberated in our minds, leaving traces of both sorrow and resolve. We had transformed the once feared storm into a vessel for unity, and now it was our duty to navigate the aftermath with newfound purpose. Kiara and I stood at the periphery of the reclamation center, watching as the community rallied in the wake of the festival's success. Hope blossomed where fear had once reigned, and laughter threaded through conversations about the stories that had been unearthed together. An intricate mural, crafted from fragments of history shared during the storm, began to take shape on one of the station's walls, each brushstroke bringing to life the tapestry of our journey, a reminder of our reclamation. Ryan and Leela dashed about, energizing conversations, reminding everyone of the pieces that made the tapestry robust. But beneath the euphoria simmered an undercurrent of apprehension, a concern that the Nexus transformation might be a deceptive lull rather than a true peace. "We were brave," I said, breaking the contemplative silence between Kiara and me. "But this is not over. We still do not fully understand what we unleashed yesterday." "I know," Kiara replied, her hand instinctively brushing against the band around my arm. "The storm has dispersed for now, but the energy patterns we recorded during the event suggest that a new shift may occur. Davis reported chatter from the rift during the festival. It could be returning. A new storm." I looked up into her eyes, feeling the weight of the question. "Or a sign that the Nexus wants us to keep pushing forward. It may be both," Kiara mused. "We need to prepare for the worst, but remain open to what this energy shift means for our future." The town square was alive with vibrant discussions, but I couldn't shake the feeling that beneath our hopeful conversations lay the remnants of old shadows, lingering memories we'd yet to fully confront. The Nexus had transformed, but what if it awaited us like a coiled serpent? As if summoned by my thoughts, Aiden approached, his brow creased with concern. "You two need to see this," he said, beckoning us toward the comm station, urgency lacing his tone. Compelled, we followed him through the gathering crowds, the sights and sounds gradually morphing into a muted backdrop. As we reached the station, the room buzzed with nervous energy. Researchers clustered around screens displaying horrifying readings from the outskirts, where the rift had previously been contained. "What's happening?" Kiara asked as we joined them, peering at an extensive holographic map projected above us. Aiden sighed, grim determination etched on his features. "It's the same as before. Waves of energy are demonstrating high degrees of instability. It appears a cluster of rifts is forming just beyond the eastern boundary. A fissure expanding again." My heart sank, thoughts racing back to our confrontation with the storm. "Can we contain it?" "Not without a team in the field," Aiden confirmed. "We'll need to deploy research teams immediately, but this time it's different. The local fauna has begun to react to the energy pulses, and several reports suggest disorientation and erratic behaviors." "The animals," I echoed, remembering the strange encounters we had had with creatures of the planet. What if it's not just fauna? What if the storm is impacting everyone? Exactly, Aiden replied, reflecting the fear we hadn't wanted to acknowledge. As much as we've evolved since the festival, we've also awakened something that can't be ignored. We could very well be staring down the precipice of another upheaval. Then we need to prepare an expedition to gather data directly from the rifts and understand what's happening, I suggested, realizing the urgency rising in my veins. If the Nexus reacts once we start studying the rifts again, it could either freak out or provide us with a deeper understanding of its intentions. Are you sure you want to lead this mission? Kiara asked, eyeing me intensely. I need to, I replied, staring out at the horizon where the energy fluctuations danced. This is our chance to reconcile with the Nexus. It beckons to us, reminding us of all the untold stories we still carry. After a few moments of quiet contemplation, Kiara nodded. Then we prepare. But we're doing this together, no one gets left behind, just like before. Within moments, we divided ourselves into teams to gather resources, energy cores and equipment for mapping energy patterns. The once celebratory atmosphere felt charged. There was purpose in our chaos. It was the first time in weeks I felt my heart race not out of fear, but anticipation, a call to discover, to confront, and to evolve. By the time the sun began to set, coating the horizon in hues of orange and maroon, we had assembled the final touches for our incursion into the expanding rift zone. Teams were eager, faces set with determination. Throughout the day we had briefed them on our experiences in the Nexus, the stories we would imbibed that reminded us we were not just a team, we were a community. We were part of a larger narrative, woven together by the threads of our unbroken resolve. As we approached the edge of the settlement, a familiar wave of energy vibrated through me. The rifts had grown in size and complexity, pulsating with the combined breaths of the storm surrounding us. It was mesmerizing and terrifying, and within it lay the potential to either reclaim our path forward or succumb to the chaos once more. Stay alert, I murmured as we crossed the threshold into the rift zone. The air was frigid, and the vibrant colors cascaded around us, contrasting sharply against the darkening atmosphere. We need to remain connected, transitioning our fears into collective strength. The readings began to spike, the energy swirling around us resonating with echoes similar to what we had experienced before the festival. It was alive, as if the Nexus sought clarity, hinting at the potential to share not just pain, but the power of connections among us. Kiara glanced at me, determination glimmering in her eyes. Equipment set up and ready to initiate the pulse feed as soon as we take readings. We need to make this count. Ryan and Leela, remember to stay close, I emphasized. If anything feels off, I need you both to signal immediately. The younger kids nodded, excitement managing to overshadow anxiety. And as preparations were solidified, we stepped closer to the largest rift. I'll monitor the energy field, Aiden declared. If things go awry or escalate further, I'll alert everyone. The rift shimmered before us, revealing an intricate weave of memories colliding, forming a connection between us and the countless lives wrapped within uncertainty. It beckoned to us, as if asking us to decipher not just its chaotic nature, but the questions of our own lives. As the first reading began, a tremor passed beneath our feet, a reminder that the storm was not far off. The ground shook slightly as energy cascaded toward the edges, and barely contained within its boundaries, time began to unravel. The shimmering barrier surged, shades of color unfolded like petals in a blossoming flower, unfurling depictions of stories waiting to be acknowledged. Here we go, I murmured, reflexively reaching outward toward the rift, straining to make sense of the morphing images as they flickered, moments heralding wild laughter, tender love, untold loss. And then a wave of agony. Stay focused, everyone. We have to keep embracing these memories entirely, own them for what they represent. Voices echoed from beyond, threading through the realization that they were not simply ghosts of the past. They were what had shaped us. This storm offered us a chance to bond with the history we hadn't yet reconciled. And there was wisdom to be found in even the most agonizing memories. As the readings intensified and the colors around the rift began to dance violently, I felt an overwhelming surge toward the core. Everyone, I shouted as the nexus trembled against our collected energy. We need to reflect our shared strength back towards it. Our hope, our dreams, and the connections we've fostered can build a bridge and embrace it. The energy resonated with our presence, awakening the colors to vibrate with life, and for the first time, I understood the powerful notion before me. What if reconciliation composed itself in each of our stories, harmonizing the storm? We clasped hands in a wide circular formation, and together, we shared a singular. A chorus of echoes surged around us, our voices merging with the pulse of the rift. Together, we reclaim our stories. Together, we exist. Together, we illuminate our futures. And then it happened the moment everything shifted. The raw energy surged, propelling past the storm's surface barriers, illuminating the atmosphere like 1,000 shooting stars, echoing back the light we had offered. The resonance deepened as the rift pulsated, the colors deepening, intertwining our pasts into a radiant web that wrapped around us. In that breathtaking moment, the chaotic core of the Nexus inhaled deeply, absorbent, and alive, before plunging toward the euphoric embrace we had created. The whispers transformed into a cascade of light, a blinding brilliance that erupted, enveloping every space, enveloping the rift with promises of connection and acknowledgement, quelling the tempest with the vibrancy of our collective spirit. As the energy washed over us, I felt the tremors fade, the resonance captured within a soft hush. We stood amid a swirling vortex of clarity. The rift transcended its chaotic origins, now becoming a symphony of understanding the fragile yet powerful harmony of our stories, binding together the very essence of who we were. And when the storm finally settled and the last echoes faded into silence, we stood, stardust of dreams woven into reality, an ever-evolving tale written as a community transformed by the very essence of its connection to the Nexus. Through unity and understanding, we had emerged from the precipice of despair, stepping into a world illuminated by purpose. Remora 7 thrived, a testament to the journey we had forged, and as the remnants of the storm settled, a new era blossomed, one crafted not by isolation, but by the indomitable power of coming together. The sun emerged from behind dark clouds, bathing us all in golden rays, and as we stood together, the promise of a redefined future beckoned brightly on the horizon. A new legacy awaited to be discovered, and together we would venture into it, with open hearts and intertwined stories leading the way. As the sun broke over the horizon, spilling warmth and brilliance onto the rejuvenated landscape of Remora 7, a collective sense of hope washed over us. The echoes of the storm from the Nexus hung in the air, transforming from ominous shadows into a testament of our resilience. The memory of chaotic energy that had once haunted our existence now resided behind a shimmering tapestry, an evolving reminder of the strength we had forged together, united by stories that transcended the boundaries of time and space. I stood on the outskirts of the bustling marketplace, where members of our community began to gather, excitedly exchanging tales of courage and healing since our encounter at the rift. Voices rose in a harmonious chorus. A vibrant cacophony of life and rebirth enveloped around us as laughter returned to our streets. I could see familiar faces reconnecting, mending the fabric of relationships that had long been tattered. Kiara joined me, a serene smile brightening her face, tilting her head towards the vibrant market. "It's beautiful, isn't it? We did it. We unlocked a potential we weren't sure existed." "Indeed," I replied, watching Ryan and Leela chase each other joyfully among the stalls, their laughter bubbling like effervescent springs cascading across the plaza. "But remember, this is just the beginning. We still have to navigate the transformation we've sparked within the Nexus and ourselves." Which begs the question, Kiara mused, what comes next for us? We have dealt with the storm, but we haven't fully grasped the tapestry of the Nexus. Her words resonated, ringing through my mind like a clarion call. Even with our hard-won victory, The Nexus remained a pulsating enigma promising adventure beyond the horizon. It was a reflective surface of our shared histories. It had offered us pathways into our past, but it was also a doorway leading into the unknown and the unexplored. A journey into the depths of our community's essence, I concluded, my heart fluttering at the thought. It should be our next challenge. We must venture into the Nexus, not just to understand where we have wrestled our past, but to find a way to live in harmony with what lies within. As if on cue, a soft yet compelling voice emerged from below the weathered overlook, a spectral apparition of the Keeper, the being who had guided us through the storm. A tender shimmer pulsed from the core of the Nexus, emanating like sunlight breaking through the canopy of a forest. As seekers of connection, the Keeper intoned with deep resonance, "You stand at the threshold of your truth. The Nexus has weathered your fears and gathered the light of your collective stories. It invites you not just to understand, but also to embrace the journey of defining what lies beyond." "Is the Nexus ready?" Kiara asked, her curiosity intertwining with caution. "Are we prepared to delve deeper?" The Keeper's form rippled, a glimmer of memories swirling within. The Nexus thrives on stories born from both hopes and fears. What you seek cannot be separated from your willingness to confront the essence of uncertainty that lies beyond. A world waiting for your imprint. What could lie beyond? It was the question that had echoed in our souls since that storm had first battered us. Now it wove layers of intrigue over my thoughts. Turning back toward the marketplace, I spotted Aiden and a few fellow researchers collecting samples from unsown areas toward the eastern boundary. "Gather everyone," I called out, urgency assembling within me. "Tonight, we stand united once more to speak of our potential journey within the Nexus. Let us illuminate our path." The vibrant tapestry of voices from our community hummed with anticipation as we banded together in solidarity, a united front capable of reshaping our destiny. As twilight settled over Ramora 7, casting shadows beneath the fiery trolling of the sunset, we gathered in the marketplace, a collective, eager, and reflective. Fleeting moments of laughter and hope adorned the atmosphere like art glee, shade solidarity taking form. I climbed upon the podium, looking over the faces framed in fading light. A beloved community, we stand on the edge of a journey into the Nexus. Together, we have overcome fear. Now we embark upon exploring not just our past, but the embers of what we have yet to uncover. Applause surged through the air, eager murmurs rippling across the crowd as excitement mingled with trepidation. As I stepped back, Kiara took center stage. The Nexus harbors the essence of our stories. Together, we'll cultivate understanding. We'll shine a light into the unknown, unearthing the possibilities waiting to be explored, both within us and around us. "Onward," Ryan proclaimed, raising his small fist with fiery exuberance, igniting cheers from the crowd. With hands clasped in a tight circle, we closed our eyes and shared a collective breath, feeling the heartbeat of Ramora 7 resonating through us, an undercurrent connecting each soul present. Every whisper, struggle, and triumph coalesced into a symphony of resolve as we opened ourselves to what the Nexus would unveil. "We journey in belief of our abilities and strengths," Kiara cried, encouraging us all to forge ahead. "Let us transcend into the tapestry of creation." As the last echoes of her words faded, we stepped forward. The luminosity of the Nexus beckoned us, inviting us into its embrace, merging souls through fields of potential where memories lingered like vibrant stars. The landscape morphed, colors stirring and swirling into varied shapes, revealing blossoming stories. We stepped onto a pathway. The fabric coalesced from traces of what had come before into what could be. The Nexus was alive, shifting around us as we navigated its depths, surrendering ourselves into the whispers of the past and the resonances of the present. Moments coiled and unfolded, stories intertwined around us. We brushed against the boundaries of time and space, forging connections that sparked creativity and insight into the core of our humanity. The essence of the Nexus began to reflect our shared journeys. Each vision birthed forth emotion captured within an intricate web. a recognition of the struggle to exist as we truly were, not merely shadows plagued by fear. Within the depths of the Nexus, we encountered fragments of our history. Ancestors who had cared for the land, artists who had crafted the beauty we cherished, and vulnerable souls who relinquished hope. But in the tapestry of connections, their legacies took form once more. We watched memories shimmer, the pulse of vigor brushing past us, urging us onward as we danced among specters of our pasts. Unity surged, a symphony of truth ensconced within light and love, leading us to the opportunities for creativity and reassurance. And then, in that moment of connected existence, the Keeper materialized once more, floating gracefully before us. You have embraced the Nexus, and I commend you for navigating the depths of your stories. It has transformed, awakening into the essence of new beginnings. New beginnings, Kiara echoed softly. Does this mean we have the chance to write the next chapter together? Does the truth span our homes and hearts? Yes, the Keeper replied, shimmering across our collective path with hope. You carry within you the capacity to catalyze growth amongst one another. Be the keepers of the stories, the layers of interconnected narratives to shape this reality. As the Keeper released the wisdom upon us, I felt a rush of warmth envelop each of us. We had forged through turmoil, and now we were equipped with the clarity of understanding. Together, we would illuminate futures radiating with life, bound by the power of our collective narratives. The Nexus beckoned once more, growing brighter, flourishing in response to our desires to connect, its essence woven into the heart of Ramora 7. As the embodiment of potential shimmered, I turned to Kiara and Ryan, love glimmering in every shared moment of depth. This is our legacy, I proclaimed, encompassing the wonders we bore and the fears we conquered. It lives and breathes within every story we weave from here on. We will honor it together and usher future generations into the light. In that moment, as we danced about the swirling petals of memory and love, I marveled at the resilience of Ramora 7, a community not bound by its past but empowered by the tales we embraced in unity. And as the last traces of twilight faded, the dawn of an extraordinary chapter began, one where the legacy of our narratives would continue to unfold, weaving lives into futures painted with hope, connection, and joy. Together, we would face whatever awaited us, and a boundless cosmos resonating with our stories stretched on before us, shimmering just beyond the horizon.